Okay, thanks Christine. So for those who don't know me, I'm Mark Hill, the Chief Operating Officer for Latin America and Asia Pacific region. Tim Cribb's going to join me today as well, who is the Project Director for Reko Diq, and he'll present the Reko Diq slides. So today I would like to give you an update on what we've achieved since we last spoke and some of the challenges we still face, and I'll also highlight what the future for the region looks like. So the last 2 years have not been without challenges, but we've made some significant progress on the projects and stabilisation of the operating assets. The PV plant expansion was completed and is currently going through the ramp-up process. Reko Diq continues to advance on schedule with the feasibility due at the end of the year, which will significantly de-risk the project. We've restarted Porgera on time and on budget, and Veladero has delivered strong operational performance and returned cash to the shareholders. We've also dealt with some significant historical liabilities in Chile and Peru. And finally, we have advanced several future growth opportunities. So moving to safety. So on safety, as you can tell from the slide, we have made significant improvements through our Journey to Zero program, and in particular by focusing on contractor management, the leading indicators and engagement with the relevant unions. We now face a new challenge, bringing on large workforces in PNG and Pakistan, so we are focused on these two sites to make sure the downward trend in incident frequency and severity continues during the ramp-up of these assets. So since we last spoke, we delivered on or significantly advanced many of our key commitments from the 2022 Investor Day. I was not going to go through this slide in detail, it's more just a roadmap for the presentation, and I'll address the majority of the items as we progress. So looking ahead, LATAM and AP will deliver substantial and sustainable growth. Pueblo Viejo will ramp up to produce greater than 800,000 ounces a year at industry-leading margins. Veladero will provide consistent production and returns. And the Reko Diq project will more than double the region's attributable gold equivalent production when Stage 1 is commissioned, and add another world-class copper asset to our portfolio. Finally, as Joel will show, we will also have a significant portfolio of green and brownfield opportunities across the region in several countries. So moving to costs. So delivery of growth should not come at the expense of our margins, and through our team's tireless efforts, the region remains on track to meet its cost guidance for the year. This slide shows that through the ramp-up of volumes and other optimisation measures, we have been able to lower costs across all major categories on a per-ounce basis year over year. This is obviously comparing 2023 to 2024. This was achieved despite increased plant maintenance driving higher consumable and spares consumption of PV and inflationary pressures in Argentina, where we have now managed to unwind our gold inventory, as can be seen in the other category on this graph. Obviously, costs will continue to be an ongoing focus in 2025 and beyond. So moving to the 5-year profiles, starting with gold, our 5-year business plan is focused on first ramping up production from incrementally at PV and Porgera, following the completion of the PV plant expansion and Porgera's full restart. And second, Reko Diq also starting to contribute gold as a byproduct from 2028 onwards. Pueblo Viejo's profile now reflects a more conservative ramp-up, hitting the 14 million tonne per annum run rate in 2026, with 2027 being the first full year of nameplate throughput. This will require the completion of several engineering projects, which I'll expand upon later. Our capital spend is shown by the lowest line in this graph, in blue. You can see that it will be elevated in the short term as we invest growth capital, mainly in connection with the additional tailings capacity at PV and future leach pad expansions for phases 8 and 9 of Veladero, after which it will taper off as these projects reach steady state. As for costs, increased production from PV, a lower cost site, is expected to substantially reduce our cost per ounce run rates from 2026 onwards, as shown on the graph. And it is also worth noting the narrowing gap between AISC and total cash cost. So turning to copper, our copper story over the next 5 years is characterised by two factors. Steady performance from our 50% interest in Zaldívar, of which we are not the operators, our expected capital investment in Reko Diq. Looking at Reko Diq, you will note that this profile reflects our capital spend for the project at our 50% attributable stake and does not reflect the project financing, which Graham will expand upon later. As can be seen from the graph, our region's copper production is expected to more than triple from 2029 when Reko Diq Phase 1 comes online. Okay, so moving to PV. So despite the completion of the process plant expansion, the associated ramp-up has been slower than expected and continues to be so. Initially, we experienced equipment failures at the crusher and the flotation areas. Whilst these are now largely rectified, we are executing further engineering work to achieve the throughput and recoveries as planned. We have replanned the ramp-up, which includes the impact of executing this work, and in the next few slides we'll run through some of the engineering projects. So if we start with throughput, so if we look at the thickener optimisation, which will provide the required capacity to handle increased fines from the new milling circuit, the original engineering suggested the capacity could be achieved with some optimisation work, but now we know the equipment actually needs to be upgraded. Put simply, without the thickener optimisation, too much water is fed to the autoclaves, which reduces the autoclave's total throughput. To complete this work, there is a planned 35-day impact in Q1 of 2025. The new deslime system for the original milling circuit will also address the increased fines, freeing up more grinding capacity in the ball mill. This was part of the original design, but its implementation was pending stabilisation of the new flotation circuit. We have now achieved that stabilisation, so we're ready to implement the new system. So on recovery projects, so first on the flotation side, the main focus is on optimisation of the reagents, both in terms of quantity and specific type in the circuit. Second, the slurry cooling tower will allow us higher line ball temperatures with the ability to cool down the slurry ahead of the cyanide addition at the CIL. Again, this project was always on the list of sustaining project, but has now been accelerated to ensure we have enough cyanide in the circuit to maintain the increased throughput. Finally, additional carbon handling systems are needed. These are new projects arising from the expansion. For example, we need more regeneration capacity to deal with the increased organic fouling from the flotation reagents. We need more retort capacity to deal with the higher sludge loading in the gold room, and grit removal spirals in the CIL to improve the carbon quality harvested to the elution circuit. So in addition to the plant expansion, we also need to construct a new tailings facility. This additional facility supports the 13.9 million ounce reserves we have added when compared to our pre-expansion plans. Our current timeline for the delivery of the new tailings dam is Q4 2029, and our updated capital estimate for the plant and the tailings project is now $2.6 billion, of which 1.2 has already been invested. The increase from our previous estimate of $2.1 billion is mainly due to inflation, extended delivery time, moving out from 3 to 5 years, updated engineering requirements, and adding provision for future expansion. In that respect, it is worth noting the dam design provides us with the optionality to increase the capacity of the TSF in the future by approximately 8 years if the resource is expanded. So we're making this additional investment now to preserve the future optionality at PV, which cannot otherwise be achieved if we put it off till later in the mine life. In addition, the combined projects will drop PV further down the cost curve, as is shown in the bottom right graph, so further down the lowest quartile. So just taking a step back and putting things in context, it's worth remembering that prior to the expansion, PV would have finished operations in 2030 and mining would have ceased in 2028, with production going below 500,000 ounces a year as of 2026. So if we had not taken this accelerated agile approach to the expansion, a care and maintenance period, or at very least mining production ramp down, would have occurred. Through the expansion and despite the various challenges, the team, Isaac, Megan and Wana, have done an excellent job of managing the risks so that the operation continued at elevated production levels without interruption during the expansion. So the end result is the new mine of life is now to 2046 with a growth capital number of $187 an ounce, which is obviously a good outcome for the Dominican Republic, the PV employees and the shareholders. And it's also worth noting we achieved this while transforming PV's safety performance to become an industry leader and also improving the environmental performance across the board. Now I'll just hand over to Tim to give you an update on Reko Diq.
Thanks, Mark. Good morning, everyone. I'm Tim Cribb, the Project Director of Reko Diq. My background is mining engineering, and I joined Barrick in 2017, working as a General Manager Operations at Porgera, and I've been working on the Reko Diq project since its reconstitution in 2022. The Reko Diq project is based on an amazing ore body and is one of the largest undeveloped copper-gold deposits in the world. The feasibility study for the project includes only the M&I portion of the resource and has a 37-year mine life. This is before we consider the significant exploration potential, which we've commenced drilling this year, and the initial results have been positive. Joel will talk to this later on today in his presentation. When we consider these exploration opportunities, we see the potential life of mine of Reko Diq to be between 2 to 3 times what is covered in the feasibility life of mine plan. The mineral resource information shown in the table is consistent with what we presented last year, and we'll be updating this with the completion of the feasibility study. As you can see in the slide, the feasibility study has increased the throughput of each phase of the project to 45 million tonnes per annum, and we've also updated the project construction capital for both Phase 1 and Phase 2, with the Phase 1 capital now expected to be between $5.5 to $6 billion. Importantly, as you can see from the red cross in the slide, Reko Diq will have one of the lowest C1 cash costs in the industry. The robust economics are driven by a low strip ratio and a simple and proven processing circuit that will deliver some of the highest margins on a per pound of copper basis. A key aspect of Reko Diq, which sets Reko Diq apart from many other greenfield projects, is the agreements which were finalised with Pakistan in 2022. And this is a very important point. These agreements define all the permitting and approvals processes the project needs in order to advance straight from the feasibility study and into construction, and we've worked on these concurrently with the study. This enables Reko Diq to be brought into production quickly, with first copper planned to be delivered in 2028, positioning Reko Diq to deliver into a growing supply and demand gap for copper. The feasibility study has advanced well and is on track to be completed by the end of the year. The study has been taken as part of an execution strategy to deliver first production in 2028, and the team has maintained a constant focus on ensuring the project can be delivered and the associated construction risks are minimised as much as possible. The study has delivered a number of improvements and updates which significantly de-risk the project. These include the updated geometallurgy and recovery test work, which has enabled the process plant to be designed with a 5 million tonne per annum increase in throughput for each phase. The study has also advanced the understanding of local groundwater options. Water was a key item for the study, and the work the team completed has demonstrated that water can be sourced from a northern aquifer for the life of mine of the project. A backup aquifer to the south has also been studied and secured as a contingency. The confidence in the transport and logistics infrastructure has been improved through the use of existing rail infrastructure which runs past the mine, a distance of approximately 70 kilometres from the mine site. The rail runs all the way to the existing port infrastructure at the port of Qasim. Utilising this infrastructure significantly de-risks the delivery of the total Reko Diq project. Importantly, this study has added renewable power to the energy mix for the project. Phase 1 will have a HFO power plant of approximately 200 megawatts, which will be accompanied by a 150 megawatt solar installation. Phase 2 will duplicate this setup with the mine plan to connect to the grid from year 15. Early works have commenced at the site to further de-risk the project delivery, with construction of camp accommodation which can already accommodate 1,100 people, the installation of a 70-kilometre security perimeter fence line, and the set-up of water ponds and associated water supply infrastructure to provide construction water. We've entered into key contracts with key suppliers for the engineering and long lead items. Metso, Weir and Wärtsilä are advancing the design process and long lead works for the process plant and power supply aspects of the project. This early equipment selection enables us to advance the engineering design ahead of schedule, further de-risking the project delivery. What makes mining so rewarding is our ability to transform local communities in partnership with our host countries. Reko Dig is a great example of this. Few other projects have demonstrated our ability to change people's lives in such a rapid timeframe. The Reko Dig deal recognised the importance of this, and we structured the agreements to ensure that advanced social development contributions were made before the mine became operational. This has been very important in driving the local support for the project. All our social development programs are conducted in line with Barrick's proven approach to sustainability, focusing on the pillars of water, health and education. For water, we've installed boreholes and reverse osmosis plants at all four of the closest local communities, providing them potable water. On health, we've installed medical clinics at the closest communities and developed a larger hospital in the nearest main town of Nakundi. And for education, we've opened numerous primary schools at the local communities and launched skill development and graduate programs. Thank you, and I'll now pass back over to Mark.
Okay, thanks, Tim. Look, before we go on, just to close out Reko Dig, I mean, it's a credit to Tim and his team what they've achieved. It really is a world-class deposit, but it's also a world-class feasibility that he's done, and he's also managed to get the early work started on the ground safely and while maintaining all the relationships with the community. So a real credit to Tim and his team. So if I now move to Veladero, another success story has been the dramatic turnaround of Veladero operation in Argentina, where the team has done an excellent job of turning a struggling business into a solid cash-generating asset. Our disciplined approach has enabled the operation to beat guidance in 2023, and it's put us on track to do the same in 2024. Our near-term leach pad expansions are on track, and we continue to work on extensions of the mine life past 2033. So moving to Porgera, when we last spoke, Porgera was nearing its third year of care and maintenance following the non-renewal of the special mining lease at the start of 2020. Through the efforts of the team, we have managed to resolve our differences with the PNG government whilst maintaining our stake of economic benefits. We have also successfully restarted the mine in the face of enormous challenges, including the tragedy of the Mulataka landslide in May and the ongoing tribal conflicts and law and order issues in the area, while staying true to our cost and capital discipline, keeping us on track to make our cost guidance. We are currently developing a bypass road around the Mulataka slip, expected to be completed in January 2025. And this road is the only access to Porgera, so it's on the critical path to maintaining full throughput. In the meantime, we've been managing supplies through pumping fuel and lifting supplies via helicopter across the slip. Finally, as you can see from the 5-year plan, the operation is expected to ramp up sequentially and contribute cash to the region from 2026 onwards at consensus prices, and obviously sooner at the current spot prices. So moving to historical liabilities, we've made significant progress in both Peru and Chile. So in Peru, the Pierina closure advanced well and will be completed in 2025 to an industry-leading standard. And in Chile, we have fully resolved our significant legacy tax issues associated with Pascua-Lama and Zaldívar through rebuilding our relationship with the Chilean government, and we are now keen to explore future growth opportunities in this country. So that's two big achievements for 2024. I'm not sure you recall, but those liabilities were north of $1.4 billion. So moving to people, so we've built capable teams at the regional and the mine site level. We've continued with our commitment to local development, especially at PV, which is now run by Dominicans. In addition, Argentina, Chile, Peru are all managed by South Americans. Didn't really slip there. Despite some uphill, we have also maintained a diverse management team at the regional level consisting of Brazilians, Argentinians, Peruvians, Americans, Australians, Chileans, and even a token South African. We've also made big strides in improving our female representation in the region, It currently sits at average at 25% across Latam and 30% at PV. And full credit needs to go to Juana, our country manager in the Dominican Republic, Megan, who was the ex-GM of PV, has now gone to Cortez, and Vanina, our head of HR, who spearheaded this program and achieved so much in a very short period of time. We also continue to source top talent and develop tomorrow's leaders through our scholarship and graduates program, which Tim also discussed during the RecoDic presentation. This is obviously the final slide. It speaks for itself, but I will say it shows how the region has turned around since we spoke to you last. We now have stable operations and growth projects, and we have increasing gold and copper production year on year for the next 5 years and even back to 2023, as you can see. So this was also achieved by optimising and developing existing assets and projects. The increase in production will also result in a decrease in cost profile, obviously. So thank you for your attention, and I'll hand over to Seb to give you an update on AME. Thank you.